What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I wanted to bring you episode 19 of the Powerpuff Girls 2016 TV show. This episode was called Viral Spiral, I believe. Just want to make sure it wasn't Viral Spiral. Yeah, just Viral Spiral, not Spirals. So 19 episodes, yeah. We're already that far in. We're almost at episode 20, which is pretty crazy, which means we're almost at the midpoint of the show already, which is cool. As far as things go, this episode was so fun and so entertaining, and there was so much that went on, and it was actually a pretty long episode, oddly enough. Long in the sense of like it was maybe a minute or two longer than most episodes, which tend to be about 10 minutes long. This one was like maybe 12 minutes at most, like of actual content, which is good. As far as things go, really interesting episode, Viral Spiral. So the episode starts off with the girls as well as other kids in the town of Townsville playing, the city of Townsville playing Baby Bunny game, which is some game that Bubbles apparently ended up making, and she ends up revealing it to her sisters, and sisters have no idea that she knows how to code, and she knows how to create games and stuff. So the thing is that she apparently has all these games that she's been able to create. A lot of them are internet based, meme based, phone games or whatever, and all sorts of fun stuff. And so they're all really addicted, and they had no idea that their sister had all this knowledge for coding and all that. So they were very intrigued with her and really impressed, and were interested, and like Blossom was suggesting all these things that she can do, like working for NASA or for some other company or some corporation or something like that, because of her ability to do all this stuff. And the thing is that it's obviously very interesting. So all that's happening, and eventually they end up going back to their homes. But in the meantime, we end up seeing characters, which this episode was kind of like rumored, or not really rumored, but like there was a teaser for this episode about a month or so ago, which showed off that this episode was going to come out, and it was going to feature the Amoeba Boys, right? So the Amoeba Boys made their appearance in this episode, like we expected, and so it was nice to see them. And as far as things go with them, do I like them? I think that they definitely have similarities, but they definitely don't feel as stupid as they were to begin with, because for those that don't remember already, the Amoeba Boys to begin with weren't considered the smartest characters ever, but I wouldn't say that they're like brilliant, but I'd say to some extent they're not as like ridiculously stupid or ridiculously pathetic as they had been in the past. I mean, consider this much: they really didn't know much of anything in the past, but here they look like they knew something. So, I mean, there was definitely somewhat of a difference. So they're talking about trying to disrupt the game that they're trying to create or whatever, and cause trouble for them in this game. And eventually they end up meeting this mysterious figure that has these mysterious glasses that stand out, kind of like a orangey green, or probably like a greenish look to them, as far as the lenses go, and it's a mysterious figure. As far as things go, this whole episode, I'll tell you this much right now, we never get to see the mysterious figure's face. So it is an interesting thing to note, but it is also important to note that this figure, probably is going to have more than one appearance, and it's probably going to be some major villain, whether it be a new villain or whether it be someone that we've seen in the past but maybe is getting some special attention this time that we haven't yet seen. So we honestly don't know much in that way, but it is an interesting thing to note that they are trying to set up for something probably on the bigger side, which is good because that should help as far as bringing in the audiences. So anyway, the episode mentions this guy where he ends up saying, here's this memory drive thing whatever, and you can get into the internet itself, and you can you can destroy all the internet throughout the world and revert it back to an earlier state of time, a time so early that like nothing would be really available. And so the thing is that back at the home, the Powerpuff Girls are playing their games while the Amoeba Boys are talking to this guy. And the thing is that they're playing their games, and eventually they're fighting some stuff, and like Bubbles even gives Blossom a really significant tip that basically allows her to beat a level or beat a boss or something like that, and it does work, and they're grateful and all that. And the thing is that suddenly they're having to fight the Amoeba Boys, and the thing is that Bubbles is like, wait, I didn't program the Amoeba Boys into this game, and so she's curious, and she starts looking around on her computer and stuff, and she realizes that if they're on the computer, they could really cause they can really cause a lot of trouble. And the thing is that the sisters are like Blossom and Buttercup are like, yeah, well, I mean, it's the Amoeba Boys, so how much trouble can they cause on the internet? And the thing is that, you know, you have to remember, just because the Amoeba Boys aren't necessarily considered the smartest, they actually cause some significant trouble. They go to advertisements, they make people buy things that cost way too much. They like make a person spend more money than they should. That's humanly realistic for a thing that really shouldn't cost, that shouldn't be valued at as much as it did. Like, for example, the mayor ends up buying some used Q-tips for like $1 million, which is obviously a bit much. And it wasn't even like special ones, it was just ordinary ones, but like they jacked the price up to $1 million, which is just like not even right. And you know, there were there was Mojo watching a movie, and like they caused the movie to infinitely buffer, and Mojo's like, I paid good money for my high speed internet and all that. And then you have like other situations like Princess Morbox being interrupted or something like that, or you have you know, a pie being stolen from like a cooking show online, or some other different things that like people would really get annoyed at, and it's happening in that moment. So clearly a lot of stuff is happening and things are not looking good. So seeing as to how that is, they end up realizing that they have that if they're not careful, they might be able to destroy the internet and stop everything from working. So at that point, that is when they end up realizing that they have to do something about this. So they end up asking the professor to hack them into the game, into the computer, because Bubbles doesn't want to. The thing is that when the professor tries to do it, he doesn't know how to use a computer. He's very smart, but he's smart with science. He's not smart with computer technology, so he ends up burning a computer. So that results in Bubble having to definitely, you know, figure out some way to hack them in the computer with some tinfoil things. And the thing is that when she brings them into the game, Buttercup ends up being put in poorly, and the reason why was because she forgot a comma, because coding involves all that stuff, and like a single mark could change the whole entire, you know, code and everything. So so that ends up, so then they fix it, and then they're both in. The thing is that she wasn't able to program their normal powers in, so they can't fly, they can't use any of their abilities like heat vision or ice breath or anything like that. So, you know, they're limited in that way, so they have to walk. But the thing is that Bubbles ends up trying to help them out in other ways. And they end up trying to help them out elsewhere. You know, they even have funny moments. I mean, they end up being transferred by Bubbles into different locations. Like, they're put into a music video where they're rapping and stuff, which was interesting. Eventually, they end up finding the Amoeba Boys after a while. And the thing is that Bubbles is not confident with herself, and you know, Blossom basically says, you know, you could do this. Think about it like a game. And she's like, a game? And that's when suddenly she ends up like changing her outfit, putting on some wristbands, putting on some like big headphones or whatever, like some Beats like headphones, but obviously more so TV accurate and not actually advertised by Dr. Dre or whatever. But you get my point. Anyway, all that's happening, and then eventually she ends up getting so into it, and you know, putting in all these Baby Bunny game weapons and stuff, and helping them out in that way, and they all work in a similar way. So they end up beating each Amoeba Boy, and eventually, when they have to face the leader of them, which I don't know if they ever really reveal any of their. I forget if they what each of their names are, but you get the point. But the leader of them, one of the hat, the main hat one, you know, when they end up fighting him, it's a little bit more interesting, and they're trying to crash the center of the internet, which if that gets destroyed, then they can't be removed from the internet, because that's the important thing to remember, is that if they manage to corrupt that, then there's no way out. And so the thing is that they end up helping them in all sorts of ways. And there's even some funny moments where like they end up summoning internet trolls, like you know how like there's like the meme trolls and all that. Well, instead they create actual trolls that are based in the internet, and then they have like internet based jokes that they'll say as they come in. So it's very funny in that way. They even have this moment where it's like, oh, they're escaping the firewall, and they have like this wall of fire, and they just like jump over it like the Amoeba Boys. It's just like, oh my god, this is hysterical. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. And eventually you end up having this moment where, you know, they're worried that they might not make it to the center of the internet or whatever. So then at that point they end up saying, if you don't, Bubbles, if you don't figure out something quickly, then it will be the end of the internet completely. And she's like, the end, that's it. And so then she summons Mommy Bunny, which was the thing that's supposed to greet you and thank you and say all these nice things to you at the end of her game, and brings it in. And in this case, Mommy Bunny ends up chewing up the lead Amoeba Boy, and they revert back to normal, and eventually Bubbles brings them back to normal and fixes all that stuff. And eventually we end up seeing a little bit of a foreshadowing of that mysterious figure from earlier in the episode, where he ends up talking about like, you may have won the battle but you haven't won the war yet. And you end up seeing all these files that end up showing up and stuff like that, because the memory bite that the Amoeba Boys had smaller things that were supposed to corrupt a whole bunch of data and all that, and they ended up like coming off of it and all that. And so it was very interesting, and obviously a different kind of perspective. Personally, I'm pretty interested. This is an interesting episode in a lot of ways, and I'm really interested to know who this character is, and will he be a reoccurring character, and if so, how much so. So yeah, so personally I'm really excited and really curious about this, and I'm really hoping that this character is interesting, neat, and has some real significance to him. I mean, I honestly have no idea who he is, and I can't really tell. Do I think it's someone that we've seen before? Maybe, but I can't really imagine it being someone that we've seen before, because it doesn't really look like anyone familiar unless they've added glasses to themselves, and I can't really think of many characters from the show that have done that. So that's about it for me. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next videos. Until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.